Hello everyone, my name is Avreen and I am your economics educator on Study Room. And today I welcome all of you in our fourth chapter of economics, globalization and Indian economy. So let's get started with this chapter. So the first thing that we have over here in this chapter is production across countries. Trade was the main channel connecting distant countries until multinational companies, also known as MNCs, emerged. Raw material, foodstuff, finished products were imported and exported. Production was organized within countries. So, over here, the main point to note is that trading, which means importing and exporting goods and products, was the main channel when we were to say that how two countries are connecting. So, trading was the main channel to connect two countries until and unless MNCs emerged. Moving forward, spreading of production by an MNC. Products designed in USA are produced in China. Customer care is carried out from call centers in India. So over here you have been provided with some examples that denotes spreading of production by MNCs. So though the point is not written over here, but let me tell you that when MNC came in India, it affected a lot of things, not just in India. Actually, when MNC started coming, multinational companies started coming, it slowly and steadily affected a lot of things. So, in this chapter, this is the main thing that we are going to study. So, these are the first two examples that are provided to us. First is that products designed in USA. The products that are designed in USA are produced in China. That means that products are designed. Only the designing part was done in the USA. The production part was done in China. Customer care is carried out from call centers in India. So why MNC came and emerged in India? Because the first point is that the cost of labor is very low. They find the cost of labor in India is to be very low. Also, the resources in India are very cheap. So basically, the price that they have to or they might be willing to spend was not that much. But in India, when they saw that okay, prices even below up to their expectations that to what they thought it would be, while in order to get their work done, wages and everything. So they thought that price would be okay, 50,000 again, taking a very minimal number. But when they came to India, they saw that the people, the resources in India are pretty cheap as to what they thought it would have been or it would be. So this was the main reason. Moving forward, interlinking production across countries. So let's see. Production by MNCs, joint production with local companies, acquisition of local companies, place order with many small producers. Investments made by MNCs are called foreign investments. Foreign investments basically means the money that is invested into the business from some foreign country. Like this is the basic definition of foreign investment in very layman's language. Whenever a foreign company, there is a huge amount or huge sum of money that is invested into your business, that is what we call foreign investment. And over here, there are, you can say, some underlining detail that is given to you about MNC. First is joint production with local companies. So they joined the production with local companies instead of again having large sum of money going the production part. What they do is they shake hands with some local companies. Then second is acquisitions of local companies. Third is place order with many small producers. So what they do is they started placing orders with many small producers in order to get their goods and services more fast and a bit in a cheap rate. Moving forward, the example of Ford Motors. Ford Motors, as all of us know, is a company that produces cars. So let's say what we have in example. So Ford Motors came to India in 1995 and spent rupees 1700 crores to set up a large plant near Chennai in collaboration with Mahindra and Mahindra. The cars produced were sold in India and also exported to Mexico, Brazil, and the USA, which is United States of America. So over here we are having an activity. First question of that activity is, would you say Ford Motor is a MNC? Why? So yes, we will say that Ford Motors is an MNC. Reason being that it has its exports to many large countries, many foreign countries, like it's having America, USA, Mexico, and also as we discussed earlier, and as you can see in this over this example, that Ford Motors came to India in 1995 and spent rupees 1700 crore to set up a large plant here. So as we discussed just in our previous slide, the example of foreign investment. So this is the main line that's giving us an hint that this was the company that came from outer region and then it set up its plant in Chennai by spending 1700 crores rupees. So this is the main reason that why we will be including Ford Motors under MNC. Next is, what is foreign investment? How much did Ford Motors invest in India? So foreign investment basically once again means the money, the amount of money that comes in the investment in business from some foreign party from a foreign country. And the amount of money that Ford Motors invested in India is 1700 crore in order to set up a plant in Chennai. Moving forward, why do you think the company wants to develop India as base for manufacturing car components for its global operations? So over here, students, see, this point is definitely the one that you will be getting into your NCRTs, that when the big producers, the big owners of the companies came to India, they thought that all right, India is pretty cheap country as to what they thought it would be. They also observed that the people, the labor cost in India is pretty less. Also, the resources that they were getting at a very high price outside were in India, they are available to them at a very low price. So these are the main reasons that why the MNCs came to India and they set up in India for their global operations. Or else one would can also say that, ma'am, they want to spread into the world. So why India? There are many beautiful places, beautiful locations. Then why India? India was not developed at that point of time, right? In 1995, India was not that developed. So this is the main reason. If you remember in the chapter, in our previous chapter, we studied about economy. So see, over here, you're also discussing the money, the economy. Okay, moving forward, foreign trade and integration of markets. Integration means linking, connecting, simple words. Okay, foreign trade creates opportunities for producers to reach beyond the domestic market while also giving consumers better choices. It results in integration of markets around the world. The Ambassador was the only car on Indian road before globalization. So, without going into the lines and everything, let me tell you the meaning directly. See, what happened is foreign trade, as I told you, integration, foreign trade and integration of markets means when there was only, production was happening only in India for Indian members, like for all the citizens of India. At that time, what was happening is only we can see ambassador car. Okay, ambassador car is very famous. I think most of us parents have drove this car when in their time, in their generation. But when India started integrating with different countries, different. Then that was the time when different companies came into India. They set up their factories and they started producing. So when they produced, there were different companies, cars of different companies that came into the market, and people also start purchasing that. But before that, when there was no linking, when there was no integration of market, only people of India producing cars, people of India working for India, things like that. That was the time when only we can see the ambassador car on the road, no other car. But when different companies came into India, so that was the time when we started seeing Maruti Suzuki, then Ford Motors, so all of this. So it all resulted in the integration of market around the world, basically meaning all the market got interconnected, all of them were interconnected, all of them were selling their goods here and there, mixing, gathering, all of that was happening. Okay, Chinese toys in India. Indian toy makers start to face stiff competition from Chinese toys in the market as consumers now have a wider range of options. So, as all of us know, China is very famous for their products. Like they can actually make a human, you can say plastic human look real than a real human, right? So China is very famous from that stuff. If some of you have been to China, you would see that, in China there is a huge market, and in that market you will find identical, you can say branded bags. Like if they are identical, no one will be able to tell you that it's a copy. Like there are identical, it's a huge market. So China can create anything, like literally anything. So when this whole integration of markets started happening, people were roaming around the world, and some were getting products from Mexico. Mexico products were coming to India. India products were going to Mexico. So a lot of mix and matching was happening. So when India got interlinked with China market wise, so the Chinese toys were something that Indian citizens got more fond of, and they were like actually liking it, and they wanted to purchase it. So that was the time, like when Chinese toys came in the market. So consumer was having a very wide range of options. Consumer over here in India were having options to purchase goods from. So they started, purchasing products of China instead of India, because then again choice was more. So basically, if in case this type of question comes into your exam, you can definitely use this as an example in order to show how the interlinking of market happened and what all it took place, what are the countries. You can basically mention between China and India while explaining your example, of course. Moving forward, let's see what's next. So this is the question that we are having over here. So what was the main channel connecting countries in the past? How is it different now? So the main channel that was connecting countries in the past was trade. Okay, so one example that I would like to reiterate over here is that of a Silk Route. So Silk Route in earlier times was the one that connected different countries, and it also led to the extensive trade. So this is one example that you can definitely add while writing trade. Second is distinguish between foreign trade and foreign investment. So basically, foreign trade means when there is trade going on between two or more countries. Okay, this is foreign trade. Foreign investment means the investment that is made by MNCs by MNCs in some other countries. This is what known as foreign investment. So basically, investment made by MNC into some other country. Okay, so this is what foreign investment means. Moving forward, in recent years, China has been importing steel from India. Explain how the import of steel by China will affect steel companies in China and India. So, talking about China, so what will happen between China and India? In China, steel supply will basically improve. And apart from that, steel companies in China will be starting face like they'll start facing challenge from the Indian companies. And now talking about India as to what will happen in India. So steel companies in India will expand their production to compete with China. And the second thing that will happen in India is that they will have to improve their quality, reduce the cost of production, and try to compete with China. Now, talking about our second question, which says, how will the import of steel from India into the Chinese market lead to integration of markets for steel in two countries? Explain. So, since they are saying explain, that means we have to explain it and we need to make sure that we are providing examples as well. So, now how will the import of steel from India into China market will lead to integration of market? So the answer to this is pretty simple and we'll make sure to write them in forms. So when talking about import of steel from India to China in Chinese market, so the first thing is pretty simple that yes, there is integration of markets. That means there is linking of market. And since there is linking of market, then what will happen is there will be rise of competition between producers of steel in China and producers of steel in India. After some time, what will happen is people in the market will start getting the same quality of steel into two different prices because they are competing against each other, right? So they will be people in this whole competition. People are the one who's getting benefit because after some time both of them will want to get more, you can say more market value. So sometimes what they'll do is they'll increase the price saying that their quality is better. Sometime what they'll do is they'll decrease their price in order to say, my quality is better, come get it from me, I'll be giving you it in a better price. But after some time, what will happen is after this fluctuation of price will be equal. And this all will happen because since both India and China have a competition in between them as to who is producing steel better in better quality, this will basically be giving rise to, more market share value. This is all happening because both of them wants to acquire more market value. So this is how the import of steel from India into the Chinese market will lead to integration of market. Moving forward, factors that enable globalization. So the first thing that we have over here is what is globalization? So globalization is the process of rapid integration or interconnection between countries. MNCs plays major role in the process of globalization. So now moving forward, we are having few of the questions that say basically these questions will answer all of your doubts that's related to globalization. So the first question that we have over here is, what is the role of MNCs in the globalization process? So just now when we were discussing the definition of globalization, that time we have seen that MNCs plays major role in globalization. So how they play a major role in globalization is what this question means. So now, coming to the very important answer of the topic globalization. So how do they actually play a role? So with the increase in number of MNCs, which are your multinational companies, what they do is they set up production in more than one country, as all of us know. Setting up of the production in the worldwide where cheap labor is available, market is near, and where government policies look after their interest. Since MNCs have the sole authority of producing and selling products in many countries, they are basically interlinking all those countries, thus speaking up, you can say, the process of globalization. Over here, by making sure that they are interlinking while they are producing and selling, they are actually sneaking up this process of globalization altogether. So, our second question says, what are the various ways in which countries can be linked? The various ways in which countries can be linked, the first and the most important is by moving of goods from one country into another country. Second point is foreign investment made by one country in another country. Third important and like very often heard of point is settling of people, immigration, by the immigration of people from one country into another countries. Last but not the least will be the services provided by one country to another country. So these four are the ways in which countries can be linked. Linked over here means connected. Moving forward, we are having our second question, which says, choose the correct option. Globalization by connecting countries shall result in option A, lesser competition among producers. Considering the China and India steel example, this is not the correct option. Greater competition among producers, considering the China and steel example, yes. Okay, let's see the third one. No change in competition among producers. Absolutely no. So the answer is greater competition among producers. Transport, information, technology, and globalization. So over here, basically, two examples are given to us. First is advancement in transportation technology. Second is IT communications technology. So advancement in transportation technology, how is this benefiting MNCs? So this is benefiting MNCs in a way that with the help of transporting ships, with the help of ships that are enabling transporting, they are actually able to transport large variety, or you can say large bundle of goods from one place to another, which is basically reducing the cost of shipment, or you can say transport. Second is IT and communications technology. Now, how is this benefiting MNCs? So, with the help of IT and communications technology, people around the world can communicate, which helped in MNCs in a way that they can now actually have their business around the world, like anywhere. So basically, these are the two examples. So if any question comes as to how MNCs are being benefited in contrast to transport or IT, information technology. So this is how you can relate the three major terms, which is globalization, IT, and transportation. Moving forward to our next thing, liberalization of foreign trade and foreign investment policy. Starting in 1991, the trade barriers that were imposed by the government in the year 1950s and 1960s were removed, leading to liberalization. So over here, make sure that these years are very clear to you, that it started in 1991, the trade barriers that were imposed by the government. So they were removed in 1950s and 1960s, which further led to liberalization, our second most important term. So now, our first question is, what do you understand by liberalization of foreign trade? So, by liberalization of foreign trade means removing the barriers or the restrictions that were imposed by the government on trading is what we call liberalization on foreign trade. So, our second question is, the government could place a limit on the number of goods that can be imported. This is called quotas. Can you explain how quotas can be used as a trade barrier? Do you think this should be used? Discuss. So over here, you can definitely give the example of, Chinese toys between India and China. What will happen if there will be abundance of Chinese toys in Indian market? So definitely you can give that as an example, that yes, quotas should be used as they definitely help to regulate the volume of trade between the countries and other countries. So this is how you can explain about like the whole concept of quota. So this will give the examination checker a clear point of view, as that you are clear, like very deeply clear with the concept of quota. So make sure to include as much as examples you can while explaining this whole concept. So, moving forward, World Trade, this is a very important topic, I would say. World Trade Organization. So it's not like you haven't heard of this term before. I'm sure most of us have heard of this term before. So let's see what we have over here. The aim of the World Trade Organization, also known as WTO, is to liberalize international trade and ensure free trade, that is without any barrier or restriction. Rules regarding international trade are established by WTO. So students, this can definitely come as a one marker question as to who set rules when it comes to trading. So the answer is WTO, World Trade Organization. So the next thing from here is criticism of WTO. Developed countries have unfairly retained trade barriers. This is first point. Developing countries have forced to remove trade barriers. Reduced subsidies on agriculture in developing countries, while developed countries continue to have large agricultural subsidies. So over here you can clearly see the difference between developed and developing countries as to WTO. So moving forward, we have a question which says, what do you think can be done so that trade between countries is more fair? So the answer to this is very, very easy, that in order to make the trade between two countries more fair, it's important that both the countries should basically remove the trade barriers from both the sides, and they should let the flow of goods and services in the market, like absolutely they should let goods and services flow in the market from both the sides, and then let the demand and supply of market decide as to which good from which country should come into the market, instead of making and taking decisions themselves. So this is how the basically you can say it will be fair trading. So moving forward, impact of globalization in India. Increased investments by MNCs. So MNCs have started making more investments in India. Increased in production standards of The top Indian companies, good, this is nice. Emergence of Indian companies as multinational companies, okay. New opportunities for services providing companies, okay. Alright, so these were the impacts. Now, steps to attract foreign investment. Industrial zones called special economic zones are being set up. The government has also allowed flexibility in labor laws. Our first question is, how has competition benefited people in India? So, talking about the benefits that this competition has caused in India is the points that you can basically include in this particular question is that the Indian producers have actually reduced the prices in order to compete with the foreign producers, and this is basically a happy you can say a scenario for the purchasers, the people who are buying that product. Also, in order to give a tough competition to foreigners, what they have done is our Indian producers have actually improved the quality and the technology. So definitely, this has been good in good favor of the for the people of India. Now, the second question is, should more Indian companies emerge as MNCs? How would it benefit the people in the country? So, definitely yes. More Indian companies should emerge as MNCs because in this way there will be more foreign trade opportunities. There will be more people who will be getting an opportunity in order to work as in the foreign locations. Apart from that, there will be also many job opportunities that will be created. So, moving forward, so now, second question. Why do government try to attract more foreign investments? So answer to this is very simple that government tries to attract more foreign investments so that government can also gain some additional taxes by taxing the profits of foreign investments. Apart from that, it will definitely be giving a rise to the financial condition of the people. Apart from that, this is the same point that we discussed in the previous question that it will definitely be creating more job opportunities. Apart from that, our second part of this question is the setting of these has been opposed by some people in India. Find out who are these people and why are they opposing it. So students, the people that are opposing it are the tribal people and the rural people, and the reason why they are opposing it because they think that these are basically snatching the land which will directly affect their livelihood. So this is the main reason that why they are opposing it. Moving forward, small producers. Small industries in India employ the largest number of workers, 20 million. Next only to agriculture. Globalization has increased competition for these industries. Moving forward, uncertain employment. Due to growing competition, MNCs prefer to hire workers flexibly, leading to lack of job security for wage laborers like garment workers. Okay, so it's because of the growing competitions. What MNC wants is they generally prefer to hire workers a bit flexibly, which basically leads to a lack of job security among the wage laborers. And one of the example is of garment workers, the one who work in garment factories, cloth factories. Now, in what ways has the competition affected workers, Indian exporters and foreign MNCs in the garment industries? What can be done by each of the following so that the workers can get fair share of benefits brought by globalization? So now we have to answer this in respect of government. Second is employers at exporting factories, MNCs Workers. So let's start with workers. So what workers needs to do is workers needs to basically change their mindset and start considering themselves equal to the management in pursuit of the better and you can say profitable business. Now, coming on to MNCs. What MNCs can do is MNCs can offer relief to the people who have lost their jobs. Now, employers at exporting factories, what they can do is they can basically invest in new technology, which will help them in rising down their own cost of production. Now, what government can do is government can get rules and regulation implemented for free and fair globalization. So this was how all four of them, in regards of basically in four of them, how it will be in favor of four of them, you can say. Moving forward, next is the struggle for a fair globalization. Government policies, proper implementation of labor laws, support for small producers, trade and investment barriers. Okay, moving forward, first question. What do you mean by globalization? Explain in your own words. So, students, globalization we have done a lot. So, I hope now you can write in your own words that what do you understand by globalization. All you need to do is make sure that you're first writing the definition of globalization and then just try to explain them with the help of some examples as well. So this question is done a lot of times. Second question is, what are the reasons for putting barriers to foreign trade and foreign investment by the Indian government? Why did it wish to remove these barriers? Okay. So starting from the first part first, that what are the reasons for putting barriers to foreign trade? So the basic reasons for putting barriers on foreign trade and foreign investment by Indian government was only to protect our Indian producers from the competition. And later on, why did they wish to remove these barriers? Because later on they thought that when there is competition, then Indian producers are actually improving their quality and technology. Also, sometimes they are reducing their cost, which is again benefiting our Indian purchasers who are getting basically who are purchasing the products from the market. So this is the two way you can answer this question, first half and the second half. Moving forward, why would flexibility in labor laws help companies? So recently, it's been observed that government has been a bit easy on these labor laws, and they have told the companies that they can hire instead of hiring regularly, they can hire partially whenever they think that workload is more, which you can say can be at time when the workload is very intense, there is more pressure, so at that time they can hire more workers. But the thing is that at that point of time, workers need to work day and night so that they can make the both end meets, and also the cost of labor is also very low. So that's a sort of disadvantage. Now, what are the various ways in which MNCs set up, control, or produce in other countries? So basically, now you have to write about MNCs. So first is that by a local production company placing orders of production with a small producers, also by setting partnerships with local companies. So these are the three ways in which MNCs can basically set up, control, or produce in other countries. Moving forward, why do developed countries want developing countries to liberalize their trade investment? And what do you think should be developing countries demand in return? So what happens is that developed countries produce goods at a very low cost. The surplus goods are sold in other countries at a fairly higher price, and this way they earn profit. So, that is the reason why developed countries basically want developing countries to liberalize their trade and investment. On the other hand, what do we think that what should the developing countries should demand in return? So the only thing that the developing countries should demand in return is fair trading. Like there should be fair trading for both developed and developing countries. So I hope this answer your question number 5. Moving forward to your question number 6, which says the impact of globalization has not been uniform. Explain this statement. So basically, by the time when the globalization has entered, what's happening is that we as a consumers have got variety of choices to choose from. Not just consumers, on the other hand, producers have also been in touch with different skills, technology. So there has been bright colors. But on the other side, on the contrary, just now in a question we discussed about labor laws. So, because of this globalization, the situation of our laborers is not that good. The labor laws, government is has started avoiding the labor laws, and laborers are now appointed flexibly instead of appointing them on the permanent basis, on regular basis. Now, our laborers are only appointed when there is high workload, and at that time, it's not like they are also paid good because of they are working so hard for us. No, they are working day and night in order to make both the ends meet, but they are literally provide very less wages, very less income. So that is why it is said that the impact of globalization has not been uniform. That means it's not equal on both the sides. So moving forward to our next question. How has liberalization of trade and investment policies helped in globalization process? So the liberalization in trade and investment policies, since they have been almost, or you can say to a certain extent, since they have been removed, so imports and exports in the countries are now we can do like they are pretty easy to do import and export in foreign countries from India or from India to the foreign countries. Also, many MNCs are coming and setting up their offices and factories in India. For example, the one that we saw, they have Ford Motors. MNC of Ford Motors have set their headquarter in Chennai. And apart from that, this has also led to job opportunities for many of the Indian citizens. So this is how we can say that liberalization of trade and investment policies has helped globalization altogether. Moving forward to our last question, how does foreign trade lead to integration of markets across countries? Explain with example other than those given here. So basically, students, in this example, all you need to do is to tell basically everything that you have studied till now, that how Chinese goods came to India, how Indian garments came to Indian markets, and apart from that, they have also been exported to many other countries. Then how the market demand and supply decided as to which good should be more available in the market. How sometimes same goods of same quality tend to be sell at two different places on equal rates. So all of this you need to tell in order to you can say in order to portray that how foreign trade lead to integration, which will I again reiterate combining markets across the country. So Chinese toys came to India, Indian market Indian garments came to other countries, not just China. So you have to portray all of this with example. So you can take any example, and you can any just since it's just an example, so you can take any commodity you like. So moving forward to revision. So our first point is globalization. Globalization is the process of rapid integration of countries. This is happening through greater foreign trade and foreign investment. Once again, I'll just reiterate the meaning of foreign trade and foreign investment. Foreign trade means when there is trading going on between two or more countries. Foreign investment means the investment made by MNCs in some other countries. Now, next is more and more MNCs move production of goods and services to locations that will reduce their cost of production. So I remember I gave you an example of India, that MNCs came to India and they observed that the cost of labor resources is pretty cheap. Moving forward, technology, particularly IT, has played a big role in organizing production across countries. Liberalization of trade and investment has facilitated globalization by removing barriers to trade and investment. So this is the point that we just discussed, like in the whole question. So, at the international level, WTO has put pressure on developing countries to liberalize trade and investment. So, this is something that we have also done. Now, while globalization has benefited well-off consumers and also producers, like we just discussed, on the bright side, where we discussed globalization is not uniform in that question. With skill, education, and wealth, many small producers and workers have suffered as the result of rising competition. So, labor laws over here. Now, fair globalization would create opportunities for all and also ensure that the benefits of globalization are shared better. That means on both the sides. So this is the end of our today's chapter. I hope the entire chapter with all the NCERT questions are clear to you. So last but not the least, I would request all of you to make sure that you go and just revise the NCERT questions, as they are very important. And I hope to see you soon in our next chapter of economy.